Welcome to Cup Coffee with Kristin. This is our midweek and midday coffee break together where we are going to caffeinate and focus on our Jeeps. I try to keep these 30 minutes or less with one specific focus. All right, so what we're going to do is jump in and get started for today. Like I said, super excited to be jumping back on here with you. All right. So for today, I want to say welcome to our Cup of Coffee with Kristin. For today, we're going to be talking about sway bars. So I'm actually doing a sway bar series for our Cup of Coffee with Kristin. So this is our class 1, series 1 for our sway bars. Because again, one specific focus for each of our Cup of Coffee with Kristin. That way it's not overwhelming. And I feel like the more specific we can be, the better. So for today, we're going to be focusing on sway bars. So I have to tell you, probably the most common question that I get is whether or not to disconnect your sway bars when you go trail riding. I hear this all the time. I get asked this all the time. It is a great question because, believe it or not, there's a lot of different opinions on that. So when you're starting out, just heading out on the trails, this might seem like an inconsequential detail, right? Because you're like, oh, sway bars, disconnecting sway bar links, disconnecting sway bars. And I don't think that seems super important. But for those who are familiar with the rigors and challenges of off-roading, it's a topic that warrants some serious consideration. And that's why we're going to be talking about that today. So let's go ahead and we're going to get ready to dive in. So in this class today, we will delve deep into the significance of disconnecting your sway bars, providing insights on why you should do so, and the benefits that you're going to gain by disconnecting your sway bars. So if you are new here, I know we've had some new members join us, the Lady Jeepers Confident Trail Program. So excited. So we have some new members that are jumping in with us. If you are new on here today, I'm so excited to have you. And hello, I'm Kristin DeLibra from LadyJeepers.com. And if you're not familiar with Lady Jeepers and myself, I help Lady Jeepers, so women who own Jeeps, to safely enjoy their Jeeps on the trail and customize and design their Jeep so that they can confidently create a life of adventure without fear. I believe so strongly in that. We actually have a swag that is like a shirt, bag, different things. And it is actually that saying, is create a life of adventure without fear, because I feel like that's so important. We are out living our best lives. So I do this using our Confident Trail system, our courses, our in-person events, our online workshops, and our private consultant and concierge services. So much goodness and so many different ways to bring forward support and help. I know you ladies have done a great job of this as you've been jumping on with me, but as you jump on, let me know where you are watching from. If you haven't done so yet, I love seeing where everyone is tuning in from. All right, so for today, we are going to be focusing on understanding the sway bar. So ultimately, why you want to disconnect your sway bar and the sway bar itself. So that is our focus for today. Next week, for our episode 2, we will be going into disconnecting the sway bar. And the following week for episode 3, we will go into reconnecting the sway bar. And I'm going to share some tips and tricks with you to make it easier when you go to reconnect your sway bar if you run into problems. So again, we're keeping these nice and short because I'm hoping you're taking like your 10 or 15 minute coffee break with me today to jump on here, and we're going to dive into the Jeep. All right, so understanding the sway bar. So before we dive into specifics, it's important to understand what a sway bar is and its function. I get asked this a lot, and it is a great question because the sway bar is one of those things, especially on a stock Jeep, it doesn't really stick out, right? It's not like a a big crucial component that you see with your eyes. It's kind of hidden behind your bumper. Now, as you put lift in tires or different fenders, start to open the wheel well up, then you start to see the sway bar and the sway bar links more. But on a stock Jeep, for example, it's hidden a little bit. So the sway bar really is a bar that is going to run from one side, so one inner fender, and it goes right behind your bumper, comes out on the other side, and then the links actually hook down to the actual sway bar link tabs where you would disconnect them and reconnect them. So what is this sway bar? A sway bar is a crucial component for your Jeep's suspension system. It's designed to keep your vehicle level during cornering and reducing body roll. So really what this sway bar is it's to kind of hold your vehicle tight. So the way that bar goes straight underneath your bumper, it's right behind it, and then it kind of curves around and you have the links, and I'll show you those in just a second. But basically what that is doing is it's creating stability. So it's keeping everything tight so that as you're on the interstate, say you're running like 75, and you go around a curve, what that does is it keeps the vehicle tight. It keeps the body from being able to move, keeps that suspension from being able to unload all the way. So basically it's helping to keep your vehicle flat. So that when you go around the corner, it kind of goes around the corner instead of like, woo, and you get all this movement, because that's not as safe on the road. So if you think about your sway bar, it is meant for your on-road driving to keep your driving easier on the road for stability, so that you are going to have more control over your vehicle. You're not going to have as much movement. You're not going to have as much kind of play because the body moves. So really, when we talk about a sway bar, the sway bar was designed for your on-road driving. So it was a way, I don't know if you remember way back in the day when, Jeeps were thought of as not so safe, and there was just so much body movement. So that is when you think about a sway bar, it is really to help to keep it stable on the road. That is its purpose, which is awesome because we want to be able to drive our Jeep down the road and have a great time. However, while the sway bar is a vital component for maintaining stability on paved roads, so while you're on road, on the highway, on the interstate, it can actually become a limiting factor when you venture off the beaten path. So this is where the concept of disconnecting the sway bar comes into play. So on road, yes, sway bar, we want it connected. Off road, we want our sway bar disconnected. So disconnecting your sway bar allows each of your tires to move more freely, and it improves your Jeep's ability to navigate over rocks, through deep ruts, and across steep inclines. So this increased wheel articulation can be the difference between conquering a tough trail or turning back, having issues. So basically, when you think about it, that sway bar holds everything tight. When you disconnect that sway bar, it allows your suspension to actually move, where you're going to utilize your suspension. So instead of trying to keep everything tight and level, it is going to allow your shocks and your springs to travel. So you have upward travel, downward travel. So one tire can drop down while another goes up, and they can move more independently, so that you are able, especially when we talk about like washes and rocks, where you want those tires to be able to move independently to get the use of all of that suspension that you have. That is where disconnecting your sway bar is crucial. And it's important to remember that while disconnected enhances your off-road performance, but they should always be reconnected before driving on paved roads. So without the sway bar connected, your Jeep will be more prone to body roll, which can make highway driving unsafe. So just remember, anytime you're going to go trail riding, yes, you want to disconnect your sway bar. And before you leave the trail ride, you always want to reconnect your sway bar. So when do you want to disconnect your sway bar? I get this question a lot. If I'm on a sand trail, a dirt road, I'm going on a Forest Service road, I'm on an easy trail. Do I really need to disconnect my sway bar if I'm going to be going on an easy trail ride? I personally recommend anytime you're going to be going off road, you're going to be trail riding, to take the time to disconnect your sway bar. If you know you're going to be going trail riding all the time, you can get quick disconnects, which are going to make it faster and easier. But if you practice, once you get down there with the tools, you can disconnect pretty quickly and pretty easy. So it's just kind of about practice. Next week, we're going to go in depth on our cup of coffee with Kristin on how to disconnect your sway bars. But for today, what I wanted to cover and talk about was what the sway bar is, what it does, why we need our sway bar, but then talking about why we would want to disconnect our sway bar. So I've gotten feedback. People are like, oh, if it's an easy trail, you don't need to take the time to disconnect your sway bar. It doesn't really make a difference. Sometimes it doesn't. So sometimes that really is a valid thought. But here's how I look at it. If I know I'm going out on a trail ride for a couple hours, disconnect your sway bar. The reason being, even if you're on a Forest Service road or, a sandy area, you could come around a corner and there could be a wash there. They could have had bad weather. Somebody could have rutted it out. And then all of a sudden you're in a position where you're not prepared. So I personally believe in always being over prepared. So take the extra 10 minutes. If you're just learning, it might be 15 minutes, but take those extra 10 or 15 minutes to just disconnect your sway bar before you head out. Because that way you're prepared. Because I personally would much rather come around a corner and maybe it rained or there was bad weather or somebody ahead of me had a hard time and got stuck and really dug down and caused a rut. So I know as I go through, one side's going to drop. I would much rather be like, oh man, all right, we're good. Drop in, let the tires move, drive through the rut, come back out, than to say, oh my gosh, I wish I would have disconnected, or now I need to disconnect, or I don't feel as prepared for what I have now come across. So yes, I am a firm believer. Even if you don't think it's needed and it's an easy trail, always just take that extra 10 or 15 minutes to disconnect your sway bar. If you have a Rubicon, we're going to get into that next week when we talk about how to disconnect our sway bar. But if you have a Rubicon, you have this awesome sway bar button so that you get to electronically disconnect and reconnect your sway bar. We'll go in depth a little bit more into that next week. But if you have a Rubicon, then absolutely it makes it easier. So any trail you are on, as soon as you're in four-wheel drive, hit your sway bar button, disconnect your sway bar. It's going to give you a better ride. So your passengers get a little bit better ride. And again, you're going to know you're prepared if you come around a corner so that you can drop down into an obstacle, go up and over a rock, whatever it may be, and know that you're ready. And to me, being prepared takes away and alleviates most of the stress, right? Like if I've done everything I can to make sure that I'm prepared, that I am ready when I go out on this trail ride, to me, that helps to lessen the worry, the anxiety, the stress, because you're like, okay, I know I'm prepared and ready, maybe over prepared. I don't believe you can ever be over prepared. That's just me. I believe in being prepared first. All right, ladies. So I did put together a directional card on how to disconnect your sway bar on your Jeep. It is a super easy directional card. If you are one of our amazing Lady Jeepers educational members, you will be getting this in your email inbox. If you're not one of our members and you would love to have this, just go ahead and let me know. Drop a hashtag sway bar in the comments and I will personally shoot over our actual directions on how to disconnect your sway bar. I love directions. I like things being easy. So just let me know if you would like it. Just drop a hashtag sway bar in the comments and I will jump over and I will personally deliver this to you and share it with you. And again, if you're one of our amazing members, don't worry. You already have this headed towards your inbox as we are creating and putting together new content. So excited. All right. So mark your calendars. Don't forget, every Wednesday, right here, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be doing our cup of coffee with Kristin. We will try to keep it short, 20 to 30 minutes, and we will have one specific topic that we're going to be covering. So today was kind of an overview of the sway bar. So this was our part 1. Next week is our part 2, where we're going to go over how to disconnect your sway bar. And the following week is our part 3, where we are going to go over and talk about reconnecting your sway bar. I'm going to share some tips and tricks with you as well. So I know that was quick. I was talking a little fast for today, but I wanted to make sure to get through all of this because I felt like it was so important. I have the button, but I don't use it. Oh, yes. So Susie is spoiled. She's got the sway lock. I don't know if you saw her comment in here. I think it is an awesome setup. It is kind of the best of both worlds. If you're not familiar, it is an aftermarket upgrade that you can make on your sway bar. So when we talk about reconnecting our sway bars, so our part 3, I will make sure that I put up our schedule. So it's on the page. It's in the groups, easy to find because today is part 1. Next week, Wednesday, is part 2 with sway bars. We're going to actually go over disconnecting. In our part 3, the following week, we're going to go over talking about upgrading and modifying. So modifications, upgrades that you can make that are specifically related to the sway bar. So for example, I didn't go fancy like you, Susie. I went back and forth on it. I went ahead and went with just anti-rock on my JKU because my electronic sway bar box went out. In fairness, though, that button, my sway bar button and my JKU, I don't even know how many times that thing was used. That poor Jeep went through water and mud. It lasted 7 years of continuous trail riding where I was hitting that sway bar button a lot. So it lasted quite a while, but it went out. So I went to an anti-rock, but Susie has this amazing upgrade that you can get. I'll go in depth on our part 3 so you can understand what I'm talking about. But basically it replaces your sway bar. And what it does is it's super easy. You have like a lever. So when you're want to drive down the road, you just hit the lever like it's just like a regular tight sway bar. Then when you get to the trail and you want to go out on the trail, you turn the lever and it unlocks everything. So then you have that full movement and it's like being disconnected. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. You still get all that on-road stability and then you still get all that off-road flexibility as well. So those are amazing. I love it, Susie. Oh, thank you. I've missed the lives and seen you ladies too. Everyone. All right. I just want to say thank you so much, ladies, for jumping on here with me for our cup of coffee with Kristin. So excited to be back at it with you amazing ladies. I have some great topics we're going to be going over. I put my whole calendar together. I sat down and did my Drive Your Life and put my whole plan together for this upcoming year. And I'm so excited about it. So have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday. Don't forget to set a reminder on your phone for next Wednesday. So every Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern, right here, we're going to jump on. We're going to hang out. We're going to get caffeinated and focus on our Jeep and just have a great time together. So thank you again for spending your coffee break with me today. I will see you next Wednesday. Bye, everybody. Have a great rest